Very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss something about adenocorticosteroid hormones. This is one of my very favorite topics. So I'm going to divide this topic into various sessions, subsessions, so that you can easily go through all those sessions. Okay, let us see the introduction part. Let us see this. Adenocorticosteroid hormones. In the session 1, I'm going to cover something about the introduction and then history and then structure of the adrenal gland, secretions of adrenal gland and functions of adrenal gland. And we are going to discuss something about ACTH hormone also, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone. So under that, I'm going to cover about structure activity relationship, synthesis, melanocortin receptors through which it acts, and then HPA axis and regulation of ACTH secretion and mechanism of action of CRH, that is corticotropin releasing hormone, and the mechanism of action of ACTH, pharmacological actions of ACTH, both on adrenal medulla and also extraadrenal effects, and then pharmacokinetics, adverse drug reactions, assays, preparations, and then tests that are used, and then the therapeutic uses. So we are going to discuss about the introduction part and then entire thing about the ACTH hormone in this session. So steroids, what are these steroid drugs? So we must be saying that many clinicians they prescribe steroids very commonly, even though after knowing the fact that they don't cure any disease, but they can be used as only adjunct drugs. They can only relieve the symptoms. They are not the main drugs of choice for any disease, in fact. So they are like taking the role, taking the position of over-the-counter drugs. So they are fast catching up with some of the antibiotics as the most abused class of drugs today. So these hormones affect almost all body organs and are extremely important in maintaining homeostasis when secreted in normal amounts. So what sort of homeostasis is regulated by these hormones? Adenocorticosteroid hormones means we have various types that we'll see now. So this is results from either inadequate or excessive secretion of these hormones. So coming to the history, by the middle of 19th century, it was demonstrated that adrenal glands were essential for life. Later, it was appreciated that the cortex was more important than the medulla. Medulla secretes the catecholamines like adrenaline and noradrenaline, and cortex secretes the adrenocorticosteroid hormones, which we are going to discuss in the subsequent slides. So a number of steroidal active principles were isolated and their structures were elucidated by Kendall and his workers in 1930s. The gate to their great therapeutic potential was opened by Hench, that is in 1949, who obtained striking improvement in rheumatoid arthritis by using corticosteroids, cortisone. Again, this is not the main drug of choice, it is an adjuvant drug only here also. The Nobel Prize was awarded the very next year to Kendall and Rishing and Hench. Then coming to the structure of the gland, these are two kidneys. This is the right kidney and left kidney. The right adrenal gland and left adrenal gland we have. So you can see right and left adrenal glands. So this part, when it is a section, you can see the parts like outer cortex. This is light color and the inner dark color, that is medulla. So this is here, see, this is cortex, light color, and this is dark color is medulla. So this outer cortex, which is light in color, it produces glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids, whereas medulla secretes catecholamines like epinephrine and norepinephrine. So outer cortex, it is again subdivided into three zones. That is zona glomerulosa, which produces mineralocorticoids, and zona fasciculata, which produces glucocorticoids, and zona reticularis, which produces adrenal androgens. Whereas inner medulla produces catecholamines, which are nothing but adrenaline and noradrenaline predominantly. So here you can see zona glomerulosa, mineralocorticoids, fasciculata, glucocorticoids. So here the prototype drug is hormone that is secreted is aldosterone, and fasciculata secretes mainly cortisol, and reticularis, that is, it secretes androgens, mainly DHEA and androstenedione, and medulla secretes catecholamines like adrenaline and noradrenaline. You can remember, like, this is some of the MCQs are asked based on this. Zona glomerulosa secretes which hormone among all these, like this. So I can give you a mnemonic like GFR, glomerular filtration rate. So if you can remember this order, you can obviously remember this one. So first one is mineralocorticoids, then glucocorticoids, and then androgens. So of course, medulla we are not going to discuss about that part in this session. So that is, which gives rise to catecholamines. So let us see adrenal cortex. Outer zone secretes zona glomerulosa, mineralocorticoids. Inner zone, zona fasciculata and reticularis secrete glucocorticoids and adrenal androgens respectively. So here in this outer zone of the adrenal cortex, zona glomerulosa has receptors for angiotensin II, and it also has the expression of aldosterone synthetase enzyme. This is not going to get atrophied even the pituitary gland is sectioned. Okay, this is very important point, because of this reason, the mineralocorticoids which are going to continuously get secreted even after the section of this surgical resection of the pituitary gland, these are the hormones which are going to save our life. So they are also referred to as life-saving hormones. So inner zone, it expresses, that is zona fasciculata and reticularis, they express 17 alpha hydroxylase and 11 beta hydroxylase enzymes subsequently, and they result in atrophy in a whenever there is surgical resection of the pituitary gland. That is very, very important point for clinical application. Then coming to the secretions of adrenal gland, corticosteroids means it includes glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. So whenever you are asked an essay question to discuss in detail about the corticosteroids, you have to discuss both about glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. Okay. So otherwise, if they ask specifically about glucocorticoids, you have to write only that part. If they ask specifically about mineralocorticoids, you have to write about only that part. So they are synthesized in adrenal cortex and have a steroidal structure. Mostly they have C21 hormones. So glucocorticoids means glucocorticoids. So they regulate glucose metabolism or carbohydrate metabolism. Prototype molecule that we are going to discuss here is cortisone. And mineralocorticoids means they regulate minerals, means electrolyte and fluid balance. So prototype molecule that we are going to discuss about is aldosterone. So here you can see zona glomerulosa, it is going to secrete aldosterone through this pathway. Cholesterol is the primary molecule from which all these hormones are getting produced. So it is going to get converted to pregnenolone, then progesterone, then 11-deoxycorticosterone, then corticosterone, then 18-hydroxycorticosterone, further giving rise to aldosterone. Whereas in zona fasciculata, so this is glucocorticoid pathway. So pregnenolone, which is produced from cholesterol molecule, it gets converted into 17 alpha hydroxypregnenolone, then to 17 alpha hydroxyprogesterone, then to 11 deoxycortisol, and then cortisol. Then in zona reticularis, it is androgen pathway. So 17 alpha hydroxypregnenolone is getting converted into dihydroepiandrosterone, otherwise known as DHEA, which is going to get converted to androstenedione, and then to testosterone, and then to estrogen. So these androgens are produced here. Mineralocorticoids like aldosterone is produced here, and glucocorticoids like cortisol is produced here. These are the pathways: zona glomerulosa, mineralocorticoid pathway, fasciculata, glucocorticoid pathway, and reticularis androgen pathway. So here you can see glomerulosa, mineralocorticoids, which regulate mineral balance, aldosterone, fasciculata, glucocorticoids regulate glucose and carbohydrate metabolism. So cortisol is the main prototype molecule. Reticularis produces androgens, which are involved in stimulating masculinization in the body. So DHEA is the main molecule. Adrenal medulla produces epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are catecholamines. So these are like this stimulates sympathetic autonomic nervous system. They are useful in the management of minor stress, whereas these glucocorticoids are useful mainly in management of the major stress in the body. Then coming to the ACTH molecule, so we are going to discuss about all this about ACTH under these subheadings, which I have already mentioned it to you. So this ACTH molecule is secreted by corticotrophs of pituitary. The pituitary gland is going to secrete ACTH and regulates the functions of adrenal cortex. Coming to the structure, activity, and relationship of this molecule, I'm going to tell just about a very few points about this SAR. If you can write this when you get even short notes also, you will get very good marks. So it is a peptide of 39 amino acids, and amino acids which are of having great clinical significance are amino acids 6 to 10. They are involved in receptor activation, and 15 to 18 they are involved in high affinity binding. Then removal of single amino acid at amino terminal can give rise to the impairment of biological activity. So whenever we want to suppress the activity, we can go ahead with this procedure, that is removal of single amino acid molecule at amino terminal. And whenever we want to when we want to have stimulatory activity, we can go ahead with receptor activation and high affinity binding molecules. This is like we can stimulate this zone. Then this molecule ACTH is synthesized from pro-opiomelanocortin, that's POMC, by the enzyme prohormone convertase 1 within the body. It acts through 5 melanocortin receptor subtypes. So you can see here, this is pituitary gland. So it is going to produce pro-opiomelanocortin, which is again getting converted to pro-ACTH with hydrolysis process. Then giving rise to this pro-ACTH molecule is again getting converted into ACTH molecule. Along with ACTH molecule, we can see the liberation of pro-alpha melanotropin also. Then we have 5 melanocortin receptors through which ACTH molecule acts. So all of these 5 receptors, they come under the category of GPCR, G protein coupled receptors. So melanocortin receptor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is present in skin or hair. This is 2 is present in adrenal glands, 3 and 4 in CNS, and 5 is present in exocrine glands. So function of this receptor 1 subtype is yellow, red, and black brown pigment regulation. And then second one, this is what we are going to discuss about, that is which is involved in the steroidogenesis. And third receptor is involved in the negative feedback regulation. And the fourth one, of course, especially dense in feeding centers of brain. Fifth one for exocrine gland secretions and thermogenesis. So this regarding agonists and antagonists, we are going to discuss everything about in the last session of this steroids topic. Then coming to the regulation of ACTH secretion. So here it is regulated mainly by HPA axis, that is hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So I'm going to discuss in detail about the basics so that when we go into the glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids proper, you will not have any confusion. That's why I made this introductory session separately into one session. Okay. Then there are 3 levels of regulation are there. That is mainly number 1 by diurnal rhythm in basal steroidogenesis. That means morning and afternoon and night time there is a variation in the steroidogenesis. Then negative feedback regulation, that you can recap from your physiology, which you have studied in the first year MBBS. Then marked increase in steroidogenesis in response to stress. That is like, we'll see what happens in major stress and minor stress within the body. So here, a corticotropin releasing hormone like CRH formed by hypothalamus. This is stored in the medial eminence, and from there reaches the anterior pituitary via the portal circulation. It stimulates the synthesis and release of ACTH. So hypothalamo-pituitary axis, HPA axis, hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis. So hypothalamus secretes CRH, which reaches the pituitary via the portal circulation, and then there it stimulates the secretion of ACTH. Here, 5-HT receptors, they play an important role in the release of ACTH. So, cyproheptadine, a 5-HT antagonist, inhibits the normal rise of plasma cortisol following insulin-induced hypoglycemia. Further, Its oral administration causes a significant depression in the plasma cortisol level. That we'll see when we discuss about the antagonist in the last session. Okay. Then here is the HPA axis. So hypothalamus, so CRH is released, positive effect, stimulatory effect on pituitary, releases ACTH, which has a stimulatory effect on adrenal gland, so it produces cortisol mainly. So this excessive, when this stimulation is going on, when if there is excessive cortisol secretion, it is going to give a feedback action on pituitary so that ACTH will not be further released. Similarly, here negative feedback on hypothalamus. So CRH release will be reduced, and then again STH release will be reduced. So this is what we have discussed about the feedback mechanism. Then stress. So whenever there is major stress, it is going to stimulate the hypothalamus. Then CRH release, ACTH release, cortisol hormone release will be there. So that this cortisol hormone, whatever the physiological and pharmacological actions are there, it is going to produce, which we are going to discuss in the second session. The normal diurnal rhythm means the secretion of cortisol varies from morning to afternoon to midnight. That we'll see in the subsequent slide. So here you can see in the noon, in the mid-afternoon, so it is like from noon, it is going to rise, and then to midnight, by 8 p.m. it is going to lessen, and then midnight slightly it is going to get again rising in level. Then again from 4 a.m. onwards, from the early morning, it is going to rise up to 8 a.m. and then to till noon again it's going to get reduced. This is the diurnal variation of the ACTH secretion. Then coming to the mechanism of action of CRH. So when CRH is getting released, what is going to happen? CRH is released by the hypothalamus. So it is going to traverse through the portal circulation and reach the anterior pituitary, where it binds to receptors on corticotropes, and it stimulates GS. So all the receptors belong to the G protein coupled receptors, which we have discussed already. So it is going to stimulate GS adenylate cyclase, and further giving rise to the liberation of cyclic AMP. Then it is in turn going to release ACTH molecule. So we have CRF1 receptor and 2 receptor, 2 subtypes. So one receptor is involved in the ACTH release, whereas type 2 receptor, it modulates adaptive response to stress. So here you can see hypothalamus, CRH is released. It is going to combine with the GPCR, G protein coupled receptors, and then reaching the anterior pituitary, releases ACTH, which stimulates adrenal cortex. So cortisol is getting released. So you can give the schematic representation in your final exam to get good marks. So here CRH in detail, we're going to get combined with the CRH receptor type 1, which is a GS stimulated receptor. So then let's cyclase is stimulated. Cyclic AMP molecule is released. So stimulates phosphokinase activity. So here it is going to enter into the cell, and then here pre-pro hormone is going to get converted into pro hormone, then getting converted again to PYMC, pro-opiomelanocortin, which we have discussed in the synthesis. Then this is going to release ACTH molecule. Okay, so these are the secretory granules. Okay, this is the action. So then mechanism of action of ACTH. After ACTH is getting released, how it is going to act? So it is going to combine with the type 2 receptors of melanocortin receptors, which we have discussed in that tabular column. So this also going to stimulate GS adenylate cyclase. So cyclic AMP will be released. So phosphokinase activity will be enhanced. So release of gluco and mineralocorticoids and adrenal androgens. All the three pathways will be stimulated, releasing all the hormones. So whenever there is mutation in mineralocorticoid melanocortin type 2 receptor, there is a possibility of syndrome of familial resistance to ACTH. This point, just try to keep it in your mind. We are not going to discuss about this point right now at this stage. Okay. So this response is after combining with the melanocortin type 2 subreceptor. So this response is elicited in two phases, acute and chronic phase. Acute phase takes seconds to minutes, whereas chronic phase takes hours to days. So acute phase, There is increased supply of cholesterol substrate to the steroidogenic enzymes. That is steroidogenic acute regulatory protein. There will be like sometimes there is a deficiency in congenital lipoid adrenal hyperplasia, which we are going to discuss in the second session most probably. Okay. Chronic phase, there is a possibility of increased transcription of steroidogenic enzymes. So all the steroidogenic enzymes will be liberated here, and here the transcription happens in the chronic phase. So here you can see receptor combining with GS, adenylyl cyclase, ATP getting converted into cyclic AMP, protein kinase activation. So here the cholesterol ester that is present within the body will be taken up and it can be getting converted into cholesterol molecule within the mitochondria, then to progranulon, and then the subsequential events will happen so that all the steroid molecules will be synthesized. ACTH receptor, GS, adenylate cyclase, cyclic AMP formation, protein kinase A. So cholesterol esters getting converted into cholesterol molecule, then entering into the mitochondria, the pregnenolone, and then cortisol molecule will be liberated. All the other steroid molecules also will get liberated. What are the pharmacological actions of ACTH? Number one, actions on adrenal cortex. So we have discussed already that it acts through melanocortin type 2 receptor and secretes mineralocorticoid aldosterone, which regulates salt and water metabolism. That is, this secretion happens from zona glomerulosa. And glucocorticoids like cortisol from zona fasciculata, which regulates carbohydrate and protein metabolism, of course. Then androgens and dihydroepiandrosterone from zona reticularis. So because of the stimulation of MC2 receptor, so all these hormones like mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, and adrenal androgens are going to get released. Here you can see hypothalamus, corticotropin releasing hormone, anterior pituitary gland, then ACTH, then adrenal gland stimulation. So aldosterone, mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, cortisol, and adrenal androgens. So here, coming to the pharmacological actions of ACTH, in the absence of ongoing stimulation by the pituitary gland, whenever there is surgical resection of hypothalamus, that's what we have discussed in the introductory slide. Zona glomerulosa does not undergo atrophy, so it will be continuing secreting the mineralocorticoids, which act as life-saving hormones within the body, because of which the patient will not immediately die. Whereas the inner zones of the cortex atrophy and the production of glucocorticoids and adrenal androgens is markedly impaired with in hypophysiectomized animal. This is very, 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 very important point. Okay. Then, in the setting of persistently elevated ACTH, mineralocorticoid levels initially increase, but they again come back to the normal level, which this phenomenon is otherwise termed as ACTH escape. Whereas prolonged elevation of ACTH level can give rise to hyperplasia and hypertrophy of the adrenal cortex, which can give rise to increased secretion of cortisol, corticosterone, and weak androgens. Whereas the mineralocorticoids, they escape further elevation in the levels, in spite of the persistent elevation of ACTH. So the another point that we have discussed in the earlier slide is, even in hypophysiectomized animal, there is continued release of mineralocorticoid. That is point number one. And even if there is persistently elevated ACTH, mineralocorticoid levels will try to escape ACTH. Okay, ACTH stimulation. This is another point which you have to remember. Then extra-adrenal effects. Apart from the adrenal gland, any other effects that ACTH is going to produce, let us see. So it is going to give rise to cutaneous pigmentation because of its structural similarity to ACTH, of ACTH to melanocyte stimulating hormone. Then apart from that, it also produces lipolysis in adipose tissue, ketosis, and then insulin resistance. And it also improves learning in experimental animals mediated via distant receptors in central nervous system. Then coming to the pharmacokinetics of ACTH, so it is administered through IM or IV because half-life is very less, that is 15 minutes only, because of rapid enzymatic hydrolysis. So, and apart from that, negligible amounts appear in urine. The quantitative response to a given dose of ACTH is greater when it is given in the morning than in the evening. Okay, that is diurnal variation. And it is also administered by a slow IV infusion than as an IV bolus. This is the another point that we have to remember. Then ADR of ACTH, most commonly allergy or hypersensitivity is there, but cosintropin, which is a derivative, one of the preparations of ACTH, is less antigenic, which produces less allergic manifestations. Then assays of ACTH are done by plasma, like immunochemoluminescent assay, which can detect the plasma ACTH concentration. Then preparations, cosintropin solution or synthetic ACTH molecule, which can be administered through IM or IV route, which is used to perform short ACTH stimulation tests, and cosintropin zinc phosphate suspension, which is administered through IM, which is used to prime the adrenal cortex by 1 mg IM daily administration for 3 days continuously before the short ACTH stimulation. So before doing this, we are going to administer this one so that we can distinguish between primary and secondary adrenocorticotropic failure. So whenever you are introducing these molecules, and this is like synthetic molecules of ACTH hormones. If you ingest these molecules, it can further stimulate the adrenal gland by further, after that there will be further liberation of all the steroid molecules. That means, so there is adrenocorticotropic hormone failure, synthesis failure is there within the body. Then testing the integrity of HPA axis, 250 grams cosintropin IM or IV is given so that there will be increase in circulating cortisol levels. That's what we have discussed. Pituitary or hypothalamic disorder, if it is there, we can go ahead with the low dose level, that is 1 gram cosintropin test. We can go ahead with that. Both may fail to detect secondary adrenal insufficiency. So we'll discuss about what is the primary adrenal insufficiency and secondary adrenal insufficiency in our second or third session. CRH stimulation test may differentiate between pituitary source, and that is like Cushing's disease, and ectopic ACTH secretion. Okay. Then coming to the uses of ACTH, it has no therapeutic uses. We are not going to use it, but it does have a diagnostic use, which is used to perform short ACTH stimulation tests. So this is all about ACTH introduction of the adrenocorticosteroid hormones along with the ACTH hormone in detail. So we finished this first session. So we'll go to the second session. There we'll discuss something about the glucocorticoids subsequently in various sessions. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.